Okay, let's get this started. Hello, hello. Welcome to Learn Web3 with Colony. It's me again, Chris. Today, it's going to be very exciting. Today, we are going to look at integrating Colony SDK and making our very first transaction. Isn't that exciting? Isn't that exciting? I'm excited. So let's get the housekeeping out of the way. We are very far into our course, and this is the third to last episode. We're closing in to the May 9th, which is going to be lesson 13, where we wrap it all up. And in 1 week, we have an even more exciting lesson, I think. Next week, we are going to be writing a simple block ingester. What that is, I'll tell you later. At the end of this video. But today, we focus on integrating Colony SDK. You might be asking yourself, wait a second, didn't we integrate Colony SDK already? Yes, we did. We did, but that was on the server. Next.js has two components, server side, client side, and we want to focus on the client side today, where we can actually make transactions. On the server, we can just get stuff from the Colony network, but on the client side, we can actually make transactions and see whether they passed or failed or whatever effect they might have. So let's get going. First thing I want to look at is Wagmi again, because Wagmi, as you might remember, is our glue between React and Ethers, which allows us to access the Gnosis chain or the blockchain in general. Because we have to get Colony SDK in there somehow. I was thinking that we will probably reuse some of the code that we wrote from the server, and also integrate Colony SDK similarly to the Wagmi client here. So we will probably have a provider that will allow us to inject the Colony SDK into the dApp so that we can access it from any component, which is probably beneficial for us. So for now, let's take a look at where we integrate with Wagmi. I think this was pages and app. Okay, so we have the client here. One thing that I wanted to do was, if we have core here and then client, oh wait a second, where was it? Actions? Oh yeah, there we go. So because to integrate Colony SDK, let me just open the docs for you. Oh wow, aren't they pretty? This is the new design for the docs, by the way. It's beautiful. Let's find Colony SDK. Oops. Start building. So this is our example here. this is how we initialize it. And as you can see, we need a signer here as the only thing that we pass into the initialization method here. How do we get a signer? So luckily, Wagmi has a nice method for us, which is called watch signer. And it says action for subscribing to signer changes. So that means we can probably react on whenever the signer changes. Why is this useful? Because when a person opens the app in the beginning, basically, then they won't be connected to MetaMask and probably won't be for some time. And then we can actually watch on when they actually connect to MetaMask, which is the moment when we will have a signer, and then we can instantiate Colony SDK because it needs a signer in the first place to do that. That's something I probably will change in the next version of Colony SDK. There will be a method where you can just change the signer on the fly, and maybe in the provider as well. But for now, we will just reinstantiate it every time. It's fine because for our simple app, we just assume that people will just connect with MetaMask once in a session, and then we're good to go, which is probably also a good assumption generally. Just not the cleanest way, I would say. Okay, let's do whatever they tell us. First, we need a signer. Actually, let's just make an object first, which is going to be Colony SDK context. And that is an object with SDK. Or let's maybe call it Colony. Let's call it Colony network. I think that's probably fine. And that is null in the beginning. And we can also do import Colony network from SDK. And then we can basically say that this is of this type, Colony network or null, right? So this looks promising. So this is our context object that we will use for React to pass down into the app. In the beginning, there's going to be null, just because we cannot instantiate Colony SDK without a signer. So this was a little bit of an oversight by me, but this will change in the next version. So for now, this is fine. So let's do whatever they tell us here. We can say, okay, this has to be from a different endpoint. Import watch signer from core. Is this a thing? Yeah, it seems to be a thing. So let's do that. Actually, I wonder if there's a method on the client for that. No, it doesn't look like it. There's a bunch of things. Let's go through there. What do we have? Auto connect, get provider, connector, provider, subscribe, connectors, must use Trinity. Okay, whatever. Let's just do whatever they tell us here. We say watch signer So there's a configuration. We don't need a chain ID, so I guess we can pass in null. And then we have the signer here. And then we can have a function here. Let's just do this. I'm gonna type null is not signer. Let's do empty object. Still make semicolons. Okay, so we have watch signer and we are doing console log signer. Let's see if this works. I have already started the dev server, npm run dev. Let's see what we get. So there's nothing in the console so far. Let's connect. Okay, we are connected. Oh wow, and we have JSON RPC signer. So that worked. That's cool. Signer is fetch signer result signer. I wonder if we can just pass this in. What are the? No, it's basically all the functions that we need for a signer. Okay. Cool. Oh, let's do it like this because this has to be initialized first. So, and then we can basically do. So I mean, this can be async. No one's preventing us from doing that. Then we can just say const colony network equals await colony network init signer. If signer return, we don't do anything. So because this could be like, this could change. Watching it just means it changed. I guess it can also change to null or something else. So this is why we have to kind of put in this guard here. And then we can say Colony SDK context colony network equals. Actually, we can just do that. We can just do this immediately, right? And then let's just console log the Colony SDK context. See what happens. So we refresh, we connect, and we have a Colony network object. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. This is exactly what we need. So next step, we can remove that. Next step would be to inject that into our dApp. And we can do that in the same way, actually, as Wagmi does it here. And that's using React context. So I think it is import. I probably have to look it up. I will not remember this. Create context from React. And then we can say let's look it up. React use context probably has a good example for us. React Dev. Well, this looks good. Colony context. Let's call this colony context. Call this differently. Let's call this colony context object. And colony context equals create context and colony context object. So this basically creates our context and injects that. I'm pretty sure that this will be passed by reference. So we just have this object in our context, and then we don't know whether it will exist. So we always have to kind of do this check whether it's there or not, because it could not be there. And this is kind of the thing that I want to improve with the next version of Colony SDK. So you'll see when we get there. Let's put it in here. That would be colony context provider. Wait a second. Misunderstanding. What is this? What is the create context value? This is a very confusing example, to be honest. Do I have to provide this value? Oh well. I guess just put it null for now. And pass it in like this. Okay, it's complaining. Let's see what happened. Like, let's see what's up there. It's been a while with me and React. Okay, whatever. I just put it in both. Can I put in anything? Who? No, it has to be value. Can I just not pass anything? No. Okay. Then I guess whatever. I feel like this probably works. Let's put this in here. Let's actually make this proper. We have indentation of 2, I feel. Okay, let's see if the application is giving us any errors. Okay, then let's see if we have the context on in where we need it. That would be in, good question, missions, address, create. No. Oh, I actually think I don't have a pay button yet. But that would be like when we look at an application. So let's see. We have a bar. There's one application. Interesting. Why did that break now? Okay, I don't want to. I look into it. But this is this is an example that we can use for now to integrate. I don't want to derail this because this bug hunting could go into like whatever. So let's just stick to the plan here and maybe look into it after we're done with this here. This is an application. This is a mission that already has a worker. This one actually now needs a button that says, okay, this is done, pay the worker. I wonder, yeah, we can also do that later. Boop, boop, boop. And where are we? Oh, there, worker. So we have a worker, and then we can just put a button here on click pay. Yeah, why not? And pay worker and complete mission. This is our button. Okay, pay doesn't exist. Yes, I know. Const pay equals nothing for now. Okay, so we have pay worker and complete mission. So now we want to see if we have the context, right? So const colony network equals use context colony context. I think I have to also export it. Let's move this to another file, shall we? We can move the whole thing actually to another file. No. Let's just export it from here. Let's just export it from here for now. We just need the context. And import from app. Colony context. And we can do here colony context. And let's just console log Colony network. See what happens. Yes, because it's null because we are not logged in. Login, connect. Oh, I think this was actually the problem earlier. So the problem now is that I cannot connect to MetaMask. We're not connected to MetaMask anymore if I go here, I think. Because this is kind of a refresh. Let's see. Yeah, it always says connected. So let's put a link on the home page to our colony. That's what we wanted to do in the beginning anyways. So let's go to missions address and that page. Oh, no, we don't have an address yet. Here, missions within our colonies. Wait a second, there should be all of the missions. Oh, but then we need, it's fine, but then we need a link to actually missions from the login page. That's cool. Where's the login page? Wait, this is the login page. Link href missions. Yeah, fair, good enough. All missions. And we close the link. Okay, go to login page, connect, all missions, and we have the Colony network. Okay, so that worked. Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, we just cannot reload because then MetaMask gets disconnected again, and that's the whole thing. It's a whole thing. So it's a whole thing that we haven't solved. Let's go to where the button is, pay worker and complete mission. Okay, so we have the Colony network. What I wanted to do is also put in a provider for the current colony. I am not sure whether this will work. But for now, let's just keep it simple. So we have the colony network. That's cool. So then we can basically say const colony equals colony network get colony. So now we're getting, this says basically, is colony network there or not? So let's say if colony network, because it cannot, it's the case could be that it's not there, as we have seen earlier when we're not connected to MetaMask. So this basically solves it. We can just say return. And actually, I think we just don't show the button when we're not connected. Right? Doesn't make sense. Colony network. Otherwise, we can do get colony, and we have the address. Pretty sure, yes, that takes the address. As string, this is the usual router weirdness. Await. Then, sorry, this has to be async. And if colony ext 1tx. So 1tx is the one transaction payment extension. That means you can pay someone in one single transaction, which is exactly what we want to do here. We want to pay a worker. Some colonies might not have that installed, and then this object won't be available. So we return here as well. Maybe with an alert. 1tx payment extension not available. It's beautiful, right? Alerts are always beautiful. Cool. And then let's just log the colony for now. Or let's just log colony dot ext dot 1tx dot pay. Will this work? Bloop. Okay, MetaMask RPC. We have the pay function, but what does this mean? Internal JSON RPC error. Okay. But we do have the pay function, so it feels fine. Feels fine. Let's try it out. Let's make a transaction. And this would be with this. We have the mission here. Okay, that's nice. Now we can say wait, and we have the mission.worker. So we can see here the arguments that pay takes. Can take multiple recipients, but we only have one. It takes an amount. You can pay people from a certain team, and you can also give a custom token address, which, when not given, just defaults to the colony's default token, which is what we are going to be using here for simplicity's sake. So we have mission worker and mission. What else do we know? Mission.bounty. Oh yeah, the worker might not be there, so let's do another guard. If mission.worker return alert no worker for mission. This never really happens, but oh, it has no effect. So okay, now we can choose what we want to do with this. So we're creating a transaction here, and then we're basically saying, okay, send this off with TX. Create a standard transaction force. That means I can only make this transaction if I have the permission to do so. I do, because I'm the owner of the colony. And that also means that I have to pay for the transaction myself. So we could also do meta TX, which would create a meta transaction that is basically free. But for now, let's keep it a bit simple. I mean, it's meta transactions are basically the same complexity. But let's just do a standard transaction in this example. I don't trust the reload necessarily so much with all of our contexts. Let's do the following. What do we get out of here? Oops. So this returns two things. This returns a bunch of things actually, but let's take a look. I think I can scroll down. Yeah. So here we can see in our beautiful docs that there is some event data, and this will be returned. So let's let's get the number of payouts here. There's not like super useful information, but if there was one payout, then we know it worked. So we can just say here, we can say n payouts. Oh, actually, I think it's not. It's like this: n payouts. So this returns an array, and in this array, there's a couple of things. There's the event data here, and I think this is the receipt. Yeah, it's a contract receipt. So if we were interested in the contract receipt, we could get it, but we are mainly interested in the event data here. And then let's say we just log the end payouts and see what happens. It's 500. I don't know if we have that amount of money lying around in the colony. Let's see. Oh, we have 2,700 demo. So that should be fine. Let's close this up. Shall we just try this? I wonder if the hot reload worked. Let's try this. Pay worker and complete mission. Okay, MetaMask is opening up. We have contract interaction. This is our transaction that we need to sign to pay the worker. Let's confirm this and wait a couple of seconds until NoSysChain mines this block. And then hopefully we will get some info here. Or the browser just crashes. Interesting. I did get a confirmation from the browser. Let me sort out my tabs here just a second. Browser crash. Very annoying. I have to redo my beautiful panels. Okay, looks good. We're almost back in business. Okay, switch back. There we are. So now we're not logged in anymore. That's why we don't see the button anymore. But let's actually look in the colony. You know what? I made a mistake. Okay, this looks a bit weird. I think it was actually paid out. But it was just a minuscule amount. Why was that? Because we are stupid. I am stupid. I have to take this number because the number that we want to send is 500 tokens, but the tokens are always given in way. That means we have to add a whole bunch of decimals because otherwise it means like it's a split of the token amount. So we have a handy helper for that in Colony SDK, which is import two-way from Colony SDK. And that, as you can see, is convert any number to way at 18 zeros. And this is exactly what we want. And we say two-way mission bound. It takes a string, so that's fine. Let's actually sort this a little bit better. Look at that. Isn't it pretty? Okay, let's actually pay 500 now. And let's hope that the browser doesn't crash again. That was weird. Let's log in. Connect to MetaMask. We are connected. Do we need to log in again? All missions, foo, and then we have the pay worker button again. Okay, let's open the console and let's try to do this again. Pay worker. Okay, we have, you cannot really see this here, but it's just a MetaMask asking me to sign this transaction. I'm signing it and then we wait. And hopefully it doesn't crash our browser this time. Oh, and we have confirmation. So we have a big number. This is always what we get back from the contracts. We can store this and say temp1 to number, and then we see the actual, oops, sorry about that, to number and then we see the actual number 1. So we have a payout of 1. Let's check our colony. There we go. Pay someone 500 demo. That worked perfectly fine. Cool. So what are the next steps? What we can do now is clean it up a little bit. How far in the stream are we? 50 minutes. Okay, that's not too bad. So we can try to get in the colony in the context, but I feel like I think it's probably better if we do that once I sorted out all of the async weirdnesses in Colony SDK. Otherwise, it doesn't make much sense, I think, because we would have to change the code anyways again. So this works now. Let's put this up here. And I think the reason why we couldn't see the applicants before back bar was because we are not logged in. Did I click this? Ah, there we go. There we go. So this works as well. So let's talk about one thing now. As you can see, this is still, the button is still here. What we would like to happen is that once the payment is gone through, but only then, only if the transaction was successful, we want this whole mission to be done, be cleared out, and then the button will disappear. Right now, obviously, what I could do is have the client, like the admin, if we just say, oh, I trust the admin, it's fine, have the basically make a request to the database and say, hey, this is done now because I received the transaction. It's fine. If I don't trust everyone with the transactions that they did, how do I do it? I mean, I could obviously say, okay, I store this in the database and say, okay, this is the mission ID, and then at the time after I made the transaction, the server goes and is like, okay, I'll check for you whether the transaction is done or not. This is also a bit problematic because we have this kind of disconnect between setting up the transaction and actually changing the database. And we have the client in between, which can do all kinds of weird things. I mean, people can close the browser in a weird moment, and we don't really want to rely on the client kind of connecting these two things. We actually want the server to kind of pick that up itself, right? Because when people send off the transaction and then just immediately close the browser, it's basically lost and we cannot really catch it anymore. So what has to happen is that the server looks itself for transactions like this. So the server looks for our pay transactions, and then goes on and every couple of seconds, or basically every block, it asks the blockchain, hey, is there a new transaction for this for this payout? And then if there is, it parses it and just by its own writes it back to the database. And this is actually what we want to do next time. We actually want to have a little at Colony we call it block ingester, that looks at blocks from the blockchain, ingests it, parses it, and looks for things that it needs to change in the database. By the way, this is, for example, what the graph are doing. This, and just on a massive scale. So we are going to do it on a tiny scale, but that's going to be next time. And I hope by next time I will have fixed all of the Colony SDK bugs or the issues that we are facing here, and then we can pick up where we left off. So we know that the payment works now. We can actually pay a worker, but we have to also reflect that on the server side in the database, and this is what next time is going to be about. Yeah. I would say that's it for today. I wanted to keep it a little bit shorter because next time I think is going to be a long one, and I just wanted to get this whole transaction out of the way first before we actually dive into the server side here, and then we can actually see whether a transaction is going through or not. So yeah, we are in a pretty good state here. And I hope you enjoyed this today, and hope you also watch the next one where we write a little block ingester. It's going to be fun. So keep at it, and I see you next time.